welcome to the Cheer Up Podcast. I am your host, Kara R. Hunt, and with me is the beautifully talented and skilled and lovely author and speaker, Sherry Swalwell. How are you doing today, Sherry?
I am doing great, except that I'm kind of sad that it's the end of July already. I keep telling myself I won't be, and that I'm going to live intentionally. And as much as I love fall, and I truly, truly, truly love fall, there's just something about the end of summer that just makes me sad. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to embrace the sad, and that's okay.
You know what? And it's I look forward to the end of July because unlike you, who's a early summer baby, my birthday is in late summer. So that means August is my entire birthday month. So when I see the end of July, I'm like, yay, birthday month. So, that is one thing I've always looked to about August. And when I was a kid, it worked out great because we didn't start school back until September. But nowadays I understand they're starting a lot earlier than that.
I think once we get past the school age, I think I'm going to love August and September even more. But right now, it's just the dreading getting up early. And I love pick up and drop off. Don't get me wrong. To me, that's one of my favorite times of the day. I think I just need to figure out a different schedule so I have more wiggle room. And then I think that I will love every season just as much as the other seasons. So I just need to get wiggle room in my schedule. There we go.
Oh, yeah. And you know what?
It's the solving of my problems.
Right? So, and I don't know, and it's just various stages of life, right? It's just various stages. Yeah, some are have kids coming out of college, others going into, some finishing high school, going to do something else. And then there's those with the younger ones, where you just have to be a lot more hands-on. So, but I thought I would dread the day my teens would start driving. But you know what? Oh, my goodness. It was such a blessing. It was such a blessing.
Yep. I love that I have adult children that still live, some of them, they live in the house part-time, not full-time necessarily. And
right.
I love being able to say, hey, can you help me out with this? Because there's just too many things to do, not enough hours in the day. And it's nice to be able to depend on somebody to just help out when I need to be 4 places at once. And I just can't.
Right, yeah, and it just helps so much. And welcome to the Cheer Up Podcast, everyone. And I am sure that there are some of you out there in Cheer Nation who probably can really, really connect with like what Sherry is saying, like in her stage of life. Both of my sons are adults, so, I no longer have to, deal with the school issue, but a lot of you might, and I'm pretty sure you can connect with her so much on that level of how consuming sometimes that can be, especially now where it seems like even nationwide, there's just such a shortage of bus drivers that a lot more parents are having to take their kids to school. So if you'd like to chat with Sherry or talk with her more about that, just send an email to the cheeruppodcast@gmail.com. That's cheeruppodcast@gmail.com. And also send us an email if you would like for us to start a Twitter space for the topics we have been discussing the past 8 or 9 weeks, I believe so now. And we have been discussing the book C.S. Lewis, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, Lewis. And if you have enjoyed it and you're like, hey, I got some insights, some commentary, I really like to talk to you guys more about this, like live, then let us know. Also send us an email at cheeruppodcast@gmail.com. And if we get at least 10 people that say yes, they would like to do a Twitter space and gather and talk, everyone with Sherry and I, then that is definitely something that we will be able to do and that we will put on our schedule. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So So for those of you who may just now be joining for the first time, for the past couple of weeks and until the end of September, we are doing a summer series, and it is called the Screwtape Letters series. We are covering the topics / letters that are covered in the books. In the book. See, the book, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, Lewis, is the author. The name of the book is The Screwtape Letters. It is a piece of classic literature. It was written published, I think, in 1941. And but it covers so many topics that are so relevant to everything that is going on today in our world, in our society, and in our culture. If you would like to listen to our introduction to this book and all of the biblical foundations for the topics we are discussing, because the Screwtape Letters deal with demons and demonic activity and how they affect the Christian. And if you want to know more information about demons, then please listen to the episode that was uploaded on June 7th. That is when we discussed that, and we gave tons of biblical scriptures, and we answered questions about demons and everything else. But more importantly, we gave you the scriptures for you to study and everything, so that you'll be able to delve more into the world of about demons and the like. So again, that was the June 7th episode, and then the weeks after that, we covered letters 1 through 9, I believe. And so in this episode, we are going to cover letters 10 and 11 in The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. The book has 31 letters, and today we are covering letters 10 and 11. And the topics that Screwtape is talking about with his nephew Wormwood are bad friends and laughter. With bad friends, Screwtape is excited Uncle Screwtape is excited when his nephew Wormwood shares with him that there's some very, crazy kind of, not crazy, but what's the word I want to use? Immoral, unethical type people, but definitely not godlike people that have entered his Christian's life. Nephew Wormwood has been assigned a Christian who is a new believer, and Uncle Screwtape is mentoring him on how to manipulate that believer and deceive him to where he doesn't become a part of God's kingdom, but a part of Satan's as well, but a part of Satan's instead. And so when Uncle Screwtape finds out, oh, wow, he has these new friends, huh? Wow, that could be very interesting. This could be effective, because this can help lead your new Christian into having a double life, one at church and one with his new friends that are obviously not going to church. And he said, this is great, because all mortals tend to turn into the thing that they are pretending to be. What is your experience with bad friends, Sherry?
Well, I am loving talking about this topic because I just was having a conversation with somebody the other day. So one of my sons showed me a video on YouTube or whatever. I don't know where he found it. But anyway, it was a clip from an old TV show called John and Kate Plus 8. I love anything to do with babies, anything to do with family, anything to do with any of that kind of stuff. And back when my kids were younger, I used to go work out downstairs in the basement, and I would watch this show, John and Kate Plus 8. Well, it was a great show. They had 8 kids, 2 were twins, and 6 were septuplets, and they were babies. And I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to have that challenge to be able to, take care of all these babies all the time, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the point of the show, or one of the things I think that people were drawn to the show about, was Kate was horrible. She treated her husband terribly. Well, this clip that my son showed me was her and him sitting on the couch being interviewed by the producers. And she turned to him and she said, will you stop breathing? You are breathing so loud. And then she makes these facial grimaces and she mocks him on TV. And I remember way back when. I actually remember that episode. I remember her doing it.
Right.
But I remember way back when God, like, spoke to me. He convicted me, and he said, Sherry, you are starting to act like her. You can either continue to watch this show and become Kate to your family, or you can turn it off and stay the person that you truly are. And it really, really showed me, highlighted to me in a very real way, how susceptible I am to outside influences. And ever since then, I have used the scripture, Philippians 4:18, or I believe it is, or 4:8, whatever is true, whatever is holy, whatever is just, whatever is admirable, on these things. And I, therefore, for myself, my rule for me is I am very careful about the music I listen to, the books that I read. I will only read Christian books, true crime, and memoirs, and then Christian nonfiction. And I do that on purpose because I need to guard my heart. So I'm very careful with what I watch, who I follow on social media. I was following this, he was a pastor, or is currently a pastor, I guess, but he has been doing some very controversial things. And I have had a check in my spirit that I need to distance myself from him. So I had to ask my kids how to unfollow, because I'm kind of dumb when it comes to social media. But I had to unfollow him in order to stay pure. I had to unfollow some other people that were more secular, but still they were touting messages that just were not lining up with what I wanted to live like. Because I noticed that I'm influenced easily, more easily than I want to be. And I want to make sure that I am living a genuine, authentic life.
Absolutely. And it's so funny when you were mentioning the John and Kate issue, because I remember, too, when it first came out. And I'm like, this is so much fun. Like, all those beautiful babies, you know.
I know, right?
And that's the draw, right? You're like, oh, my goodness, but how in the world are you going to handle all those kids? So you tune in and you look and you're, like, doing it. But that relationship was very, very toxic. My reaction to her saying that is a little bit different than yours. I'm more of an inquisitor type person. So when she says something like that, I'm like, ouch, that was me. Like, that was hard. But what would make her say? But what would make her say something like that? What is, you know what I'm saying? My mind is like trying to self-analyze or analyze Kate, right? Like, you know, those type of things just don't happen, right? Those type of things build up over time for you to be able to say something like that. So there was obviously another story there, and I think we need to be that way with our friends, because when you constantly have a friend, and I think I remember someone maybe a couple of years ago mentioning something about a friend that just constantly, one way or another, put them down, right? And it's like, it wasn't one time, you know, it wasn't like a slip of the tongue, even though I don't think that really could happen in a lot of cases regarding friends, but it was just more of like, and I guess it was becoming more all the time type of thing. You know what I'm saying? To where it was just, it was like had something negative to say, or something along those lines. And I can't remember none of the exact details right now, which is probably a good thing. But we've all probably, let me just sum it up by saying this way, we probably all have had a friend like that, to where they were really good and friendly at first, but then maybe after a year or two, they started saying those snide and mean things to us, you know, and we're like, is that person good for me? Like, do they really have my best interest in mind? And we have to evaluate their relationship. And there's probably been friends that we've known for years that may come to you and, you know, they may be into something that may not necessarily be a sin, but it's too tempting for you. Right? So, for instance, if I was a struggling alcoholic and I had friends who constantly loved beer and they brought beer around me and wine, and they not only brought it around me, but they were tempting me to take part. Okay? Though that is kind of like what Screwtape is talking about. friends to where you can be one place at church and you're just kind of like, oh, hey, everything's good, everything's fine. Then you hang out with these friends and you're giving into the temptation to something that you have had strong problems with in the past and have led you to do very ungodly and immoral and unethical and sinful things. And it is best for us to keep in mind that that is exactly what the enemy wants to do. He wants us to nourish those type of friendships, the bad type of friendships, so that we ourselves can get can allow the enemy's claws to get deeper and deeper into our souls and our spirit. And letter 11 talks about laughter, which ties in with the bad friends part. But, he says that there's a way. He just talks about laughter, and he's talking about, there's a way to where you can use as friends to have them, laugh at people and or things and become a scoffer and become mocker and ridicule people and scorn people because of their beliefs. And which is something that Uncle Screwtape was pretty sure these new friends will be able to help Nephew Wormwood's new Christian patient do. And he's like, yes, we, get him into looking down on people and having nose up in the air when it comes to like certain people. And, they just, become scoffers and mockers and ridiculers and scorners. And, because of someone's beliefs or the way they look or because of the way they don't look or they're not wealthy enough or fashionable enough or they're not as good looking or, they're too fat or too big or too tall or too small. And he's like, yes, encourage this relationship. Have your Christian human and really fall in love with these new groups of friends because they are going to help us secure his path to hell, basically is what it was talking about. So, Sherry, what do you think about that? And what Uncle Screwtape was pretty much telling Uncle Wormwood is like, keep those friends around that cause you to look down on others.
One of the things that I'm wondering if people are, when they listen to our discussions, when we say on the path to hell, if you're a born again believer, then and by born again believer, by Christ follower, true Christ follower, I mean someone who has prayed the prayer, who has submitted and surrendered their life to God, and who wants to do life God's way. You have surrendered your will, your desires, your selfishness, and you're saying, not my will, but God's will. So if you are a true born-again believer, then you're saved and you are going to heaven. Can Satan still tempt you? Absolutely. Can Satan still cause you to sin? He can sure do everything in his power to try to get you to sin. Are you going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands that if you are a born-again believer already, then your price has been paid by Jesus Christ, and God sees our sin through the saved and redeemed blood of Jesus. So if you pray that prayer, have the reassurance that you are going to heaven. But you also have the Holy Spirit living inside of you, working, nudging, convicting you to work on those different areas of your life that need work. And this is one of those areas that needs work. If you've never prayed that prayer and you've not surrendered your life to God, then you are on the path to hell, no matter how righteous or good or how many great choices you make, you're still a sinner. And sinners go to hell if they don't submit and surrender their lives to God. So having said all that, yes, I completely agree with you, Kara, that it just keeps going back to that slippery slope. He just keeps, we are going to be tempted, and he has enough demons around us. He can't hear our thoughts. So when we're thinking something, he can't hear that. But we, as humans, we live a lifestyle that he can observe. The demons can observe us. They do observe us, and they're pretty darn smart. So they study us, and they find our weaknesses.
They've had thousands of years to perfect it.
Absolutely. And they target our weaknesses. And when we're weak and when we're emotionally depleted, and I mean, society, well, Satan has used society for years, and he has gotten us to the place where, like I said, we don't rest anymore. We are always on the go. So we're mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted unless we are intentional to take care of our bodies, take care of our minds, take care of our souls. And so, like you said, he said thousands of years to perfect it. And humans are pretty predictable. So what works for what? He has like 5 different tricks. And I don't know what they are. But he has like, for me, my weaknesses are my health, my family. I used to be gripped in fear. He knew how to get me. And it's only through my relationship with God, trusting God, learning how to trust God, wanting to trust God, that fear doesn't have a hold on me like it used to anymore. So it all goes back to God is greater than anything that Satan can give us. But on our own, we will fail every single time. With God and his strength, we will be more than conquerors. So I guess I just wanted to really encourage people along those lines today, that I just don't want anybody to think that you're going to hell if you slip up, but you're a Christian. If you are a true Christ
You'll
follower,
go to hell if you let him pull him away from your relationship with God.
Right.
Yes.
But if you're a true
not
Christ
strengthen
follower,
it, but actually pull you away from it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sherry.
No, exactly. So if you are a true Christ follower and you are listening to the Holy Spirit, you are keeping your heart soft, and you are keeping growing. Because my pastor, he always says you are one step away from drawing closer to God, and you're one choice away from growing closer to God, and you're one choice away from drifting further from God. Every day we need to wake up with the mindset of, I am choosing Christ. I am choosing God. And this summer, I don't know, like, God gives me different seasons. And the season that I'm in right now, there are so many things that I have been praying for, and so many things that I am waiting to see God show up and show off in my life. And I have faith that he's going to. When? I don't know. How it's going to look? I don't know. Probably very different than what I'm imagining. But I have come to the conclusion this summer, and it really brings me peace, is that I have a choice. So let's take the whole food thing, because that's an easy one for me. So, it's a struggle for me, but it's an easy example. So let's just say I have a donut in front of me. I'm already full. I've already eaten. There's nothing wrong with eating a donut, except if I'm eating it for the wrong reasons. If I'm eating it to pacify myself or soothe myself instead of going to God, then yes, that's wrong. But if I'm eating it because I'm hungry and I'm celebrating something, there's nothing wrong with a donut. But I'm just using a donut as an example. I would much rather choose God's best for my life, even if that means saying no to that donut, which donuts for me are like the epitome. I love donuts. Knowing that I'm in God's will, knowing that that's the best for me, than choosing that donut and choosing what I know is not the best for me, or not God's best for me. And I think I really had to grow as a Christian in order to get to that place. And so let me translate that to other things. Say I have a ministry opportunity, and I am so excited about it, and I think that it's going to be amazing. But God says, Sherry, I don't want you to do that. That's not my heart for you. I want you to do this instead. Instead of focusing on green windows, I think that your ministry and your personality is going to be much better with black windows. I would much rather pursue the black windows, knowing that's God's best yes for me, than pursue the green windows, because that's what I want. And I'm more comfortable with the color green than I am with the color black. Does that make sense? Like that is the kind of relationship that we should strive for, to stay off of the slippery slope and to stay off of, and to continue to grow our relationship closer to God, so that we hear his voice louder than we hear the demons.
Or the scoffers, or the mockers, or the laughers.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap it up, Kara?
No, just, well, you know what? I always say no, Jess, right? So, yeah, I guess I do. It just dawned on me how silly that sounded, but just echoing everything that you had said, and then just adding on what Uncle Screwtape was telling nephew Wormwood. You know, these friends are really bad for him, and they're going to have him looking down on people and everything else. They're going to encourage him to do all these other things and mock people and stuff like that. It feels good sometimes to look down on other people. And it gives you pleasure, because you know why? Because you're not looking at yourself. You're so busy looking at the flaws of everyone else, you're not looking at yourself. And that is one of the slippery slopes that I believe Sherry was talking about. We just got to be very, very careful to avoid that, because it can be slippery, and it can be real slippery, and it can slide you way down to a pit to where you never, ever thought you'd be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that none of us really, all who are Christ followers, all who truly love God and want to serve him with our whole hearts, none of us want to do that. So I think that's why we have to, there's that verse, create me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. I think we need to constantly search me, O God, and know my ways. Try me. I think we need to constantly have that attitude of, okay, Lord, what do you need to tweak today? What do you need to work at in my life? And help me to be vulnerable and soft enough so that I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to do the 10 minutes of cleanup and the 10 minutes of maintenance every day, instead of waiting until I need to rent that dumpster. It's more expensive. It's harder. And life is just so much better when we stay in tune with him.
It truly is.
Next week, we start August already, which, happy birthday to you, not next week, but happy birthday August month. So I'm going to start our oldest was born in August too. So I do have happy memories of August. I wish that, I wish it just didn't go so fast. It just seems to just fly.
I know.
But next week, we're going to talk about nothing and personal pleasure. So yes, I did say nothing, but that means we're going to talk about something, the something of nothing, and personal pleasure. So do you need prayer or encouragement? Head over to the cheeruppodcast@gmail.com and drop us an email. We love to pray with our listeners. We love to make new friends. We also head over to the Facebook group. I've been forgetting to talk about that. That is Cheer Up Podcast on Facebook. And we love adding new members to that. You don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to be approved. Just jump on in and start talking. You can start your own discussions too. So we look forward to meeting you and getting to know you over there as well. Jesus told us, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." You know, Kara, I know that we started this podcast 2.5 years ago to be an encouragement to other people, but I have to tell you, being reminded of that verse week after week after week is an encouragement to me. We can have good cheer because he has already overcome the world. He has overcome each and every each and every topic, each and every chapter that we've been talking about this summer, and he's going to continue to overcome. We in ourselves are powerless, but in him, he's already won. As far as the any kind of superhero. When my kids were little, I used to always say, don't worry, the bad guys always lose, the good guys always win. Well, that's the way it is in life, too. It looks right now like the bad guys are winning, but the fight is not over. God wins in the end, and we, who are his children, win with him. Not in our own strength, definitely not in our own strength, but definitely in his strength. Head over to Kara's website, KaraRHunt.com. Check out all the latest and greatest new wonderful things over there. And head over to my website, SherrySwalwell.com. If you are interested in growing your relationship in your pace, your time, I would encourage you to check out the Jesus in the Everyday membership. $9.99 a month, nice and affordable, less than, way less than $1 a day. I don't even know what it is. I have to figure out my math. I'm horrible with math. I'll work on that. But check it out, because it's one way for you to stay off of that slippery slope. It's one way for you to stay submitted, at the soft part, and growing that relationship with God. Nice and easy, 10 minutes a day, but it keeps you in the Word. It keeps you with your focus on the Holy Spirit, on God the Father, on Jesus Christ. And there's no place I would rather be than with him front and center in my thoughts, in my mind, and praising him throughout the day. And it doesn't have to get weird, and it doesn't have to look weird. It's just natural. And that's the cool thing about it, is that a relationship with God is natural. And it brings joy. It brings the joy and the peace and the hope that we're always talking about. Does that mean that every single day we feel it when we're going through trials and tribulations? Underlying, yes, but there's also a time to grieve. There's also a time to give our cares over to God. And it's okay to feel heavy and oppressed every once in a while. Give it over to him, and he will replace that with peace and joy and hope. Because our God, the creator of the universe, loves us so much. He wants us to give him every single care that we have. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us on this journey through the Screwtape Letters. And again, next week, we're going to talk about nothing. Sorry, I lost my place. Nothing and personal pleasure. And I cannot wait for Kara and I to continue that conversation next week. So have a great rest of your week this week. Happy August ahead of time. And we will talk to you next week.